Hello. Today I'm going to introduce the next module. An old friend, really, and the beginning of Jackrabbit itself. You might say the original Jackrabbit before it grew, blossomed, and exploded into the powerhouse of tools that it is today. The module I'm talking about is none other than JRling. Moving it into the modulus framework has unlocked some incredibly powerful tools and capabilities within its own substructures. It is everything that JRling normally is, ramped up and amped up to a whole new level. It has the capabilities that Jackrabbit started out with at an unprecedented level. So here we see it in the default state. That is 3 indicators for a buy signal, 1 indicator for a sell signal. Straightforward, straight out Jackrabbit for JRling. Now, I'm going to introduce just what you can do under the modulus framework and just how much it has changed, can change, and is capable of. First of all, let's modify the basic requirements. Let's turn on confirmation bias. Now I'm going to use these same modified requirements down here. But I'm going to put this at the 4-hour mark. Now, here we have the main line and the confirmation. And you can, of course, change those to see how they work. The first one, of course, is the main price action. The second one is the confirmation price action. Of course, it's inverted, as is all of Jackrabbit's confirmations for the vast majority of the modules. But for now, we're going to leave it like this, turn it off, and we are going to take the next step. Let's move it to the chart. And let's be sure to pin it to scale A. Here you have purchase, sell, purchase, sell. You have a confirmation on both the 5-minute and the 4-hour. We're not done yet. Adding the modulus framework to JRling has created a rather unusual situation that can be taken to the next level. A level that very few of the modules really support to this degree. So let's set this up. Turn off the signal line. Show the chart. Turn on IOI confirmation and link it to the first Jackrabbit, JRling. Now, I'm going to set this for the 3-2 just like I did, and I'm going to come down here and set this one for 3-2. Now we're going to come up here to the ticker symbol. I'm going to use my confirmation of my second indicator against the entire market. That's right, the entire market. And now on my confirmation, also for the 4-hour mark. Now let's come back up to the primary, and we're going to use the main ticker symbol also as the entire market. So now you have a situation where the asset itself and the 4-hour time frame, along with the confirmation of the global crypto market trading system and its 4-hour confirmation. Now let's pick a coin that is low quality. It's a good coin, offers a lot of good results, but it's not something you want to trade without really taking to the next step of analysis. And as you can see, while there's a lot of sell signals, while Adam shows buy signals, they're not echoed in the entire crypto market. So by doing this, you've gotten rid of all of these weak signals that may not be profitable. So let's see if we can find a buy signal. Here we go. Here's a buy signal, but this is a weak sell signal. And of course we have more buy signals. Actually, no, we don't. We should say we will have more buy signals, where accumulation will take place, since that is what Jackrabbit is famous for. But now let's add the final straw to this. Let's add dollar cost averaging. I'm going to link it to the second JRling. Going to disable, and I'm going to set this up fairly aggressively. Now we already know what JRling is capable of doing, so it's not a surprise that it will pretty much rough up the market and attack it in a very aggressive state. But what is a surprise is just how powerful the IOI framework has made it. This is an aggressive setting, and look at $7 maximum. So if you have a $10 range, for $70, you've taken one of the most aggressive strategies within Jackrabbit and turned it into a killer scalping protocol that can get very quick and very aggressive hits on the market, but it can also sit there and collect, and it can make some very nice profits. So this can be an all-weather strategy, it can be an aggressive scalping strategy, or it can be a long-term winter strategy. JRling is one of the few modules that can stack upon itself in such an aggressive way. And yet, look at these profits. This is some of the best profits you can find within a system for such a simple process. So let's go back to the charts, and you can really take this even further by looking at BTC or ETH or any other combination and stack it against these two. But I personally find this approach to be reasonably robust just as it is. And for the most part, it works with dollar cost averaging, and it works with stop loss. It's one of the few algorithms that really makes the stop loss module shine, and it does a very good job of it. So let's look at the stop loss module. Here we have it already set up for wins. It came in and it got out right at the 2% profit boundary. So take profit 2%. You can use the strategy mode if you want to go for higher levels, which does work, as you can see, and it will give you quite significant profits. But for the purpose of this, and I did fix this, for the purpose of this, we'll just leave it here. And let's quickly update this, since I did fix the typo. Again, to the second JRling. You can adjust this down to smaller numbers, but I prefer this number here because it just does exceptionally well at finding opportunities. And it provides a good level to let the coin fluctuate without getting out too early. Now that we have set this back, so as you can see, this does fairly well with the stop loss. Now, of course, not all coins are going to perform this good. You will get some coins that do have losses. Fortunately, this is not one of them. But let's see if we can find a coin that does perform overall very poorly, even with the advanced confirmations. Okay. You'll notice right away that you're getting in at the lowest points possible that it believes are the low points, and you're getting out at reasonably good high points. So here, gets in, gets out right away. But if you want to accumulate, then it will stay in until, well, in this case, it's still in the system. So let's see if we have one that got out early. Here we go. This one got out here at exactly 2%, whereas this one got a nice little bump here. Okay, so let's go to another coin. Okay, this one took 2 losses. This was what we want. No wins, 2 losses. So let's see. Okay, here you see. It got in. Let's blow this up. It got in and the price action dipped. And it got out. So as you can see, depending upon your risk assessment, both ways work well, but some coins just aren't that great. So this is a good way of using the lesser quality coins on an approach that can give you better results. And that's the important thing, is being able to mitigate your risks, especially now with the way the markets are going and the current events in the world. Mitigating risk is extremely important. Planning for your assets are equally as important. And as you can see, even mitigating your number of positions if you do choose to take on an accumulation is also important. And that is really what JRling can offer you. An incredibly aggressive and robust capabilities, but at the same time, very limited scope and scale based upon your own personal risk assessment. So, this is, of course, like any other tool in your tool chest. It's not a miracle worker. It's not going to make gold out of lead. It's going to give you the best opportunities it can. And from there, the rest is just up to the market to behave appropriately and not lynch everybody in place. So whichever method you choose, you will be able to find the right combination appropriate to your own specific needs. Risk assessment and risk mitigation are critical no matter what coin you look at. If you have a bot like 3 commas, where you can trade the same coin under different wallets, you can even take advantage of both of these situations at the same time, thus doubling your impact of risk mitigation. You will have the advantage of short-term hits, and at the same time, the ability to take on longer-term situations as well. So it offers you a direction to manage both conditions, even with coins that make absolutely no sense, like Doge. It gets in, this one is still running. This one made a quick 2% profit and got out. Something to be aware of. So here it accumulated, got out. Here it got in, got out with a quick spike, and then got in again. So that is something reasonable to look at for your risk assessment. Don't, and I repeat, don't take shortcuts. Think about your own situation carefully. Sometimes it may need to be thinking about your break-even point. And right now, with the combination like FrostyBot and the lowest subscription of TradingView, you can get a reasonable process that does fairly consistent within that subscription for $20 or less. So that's something to really think about. As you progress with your risk mitigation and risk assessment. It's not necessarily going to be a cut and dry situation. I personally prefer accumulation, but at the same time, I simply cannot ignore this situation where I can see carefully that this may have some advantages. And that is the whole point of being able to evaluate your risks. This one says it had 2 losses. Let's see if we can find one of them and find out where the loss actually took place. Okay, it's not going to tell me because the rest of this chart does not contain enough data. So, when you see a situation like this, look for this line. If you don't see this line, anything prior is not enough data for it to make a proper analysis. This is Jackrabbit's safety protocol, and it applies to all modules no matter what. It won't get in or out of the market without the proper amount of information, even if the dollar cost averaging module does have the proper information. It's important to be aware of the significant impact that the situation can lead to. Now I have this set to a fairly aggressive state, but we can easily, okay, it's set to step. You can easily make it more aggressive or less aggressive. Again, that's why this is a nice all-around strategy. So if you really open it up with accumulation, you will have 57, or roughly $570 for your maximum. That can be pretty high. If you go back to the 5 minute, tongue-tied here, it accumulates about $60. That's still quite a bit, depending upon your risk assessment. But you do see profits in the order of this. That is a pretty good profit margin. But be aware of the accumulation when you work with this kind of a strategy. So whether you choose to use a single, let's actually link this. Let's go back to my work chart. So if you choose to use a single JRling connected to dollar cost averaging, you can emulate Crypto Hopper, or you can take the process to the next level. In this case, this is already at the next level by using a 4-hour confirmation. So let's set this up. And I'm going to set this up for my standard practices, where I get all of my real profits. So this is going to limit me to a $600 budget if I only use $11 per position. But it's going to work extremely well. You will have accumulation, and your max accumulation is probably going to be about $200 as a safe window of opportunity. But the maximum that this will go in the worst case situation is $600. And yet it does extremely well. So whether you want to go simple or complex, the JRling module coupled with the modulus framework takes the entire process to a whole new level of thinking. I've only touched the basics of what this is capable of doing, because I really don't know just how far you can expand it. You could couple it with a JRling on BTC or one on ETH. You can cross-compare all of your base currencies in one blow. For example, USDT, BTC, and ETH, and create a tri-layer. How complex you want to make this recipe really is up to you. At the same time, you can just make it incredibly simple and keep it to the very basics. Changing your requirements will also have an impact, where you can make it even less wanting to pick up junk positions. So you can really hone in on very simple approaches. And as you can see, by honing in like this, it does add up to more accumulations. But it will give you one heck of a good profit, as long as you've planned for the worst case situation and thought about these accumulations. This is a process you should not ignore. Take your time, look at it, test different scenarios. Find the one that works best for your own personal situation. $5 average selling price, almost $6. So that's $1 on 1, 2, 3. 3 positions, $1 per position. This could have made $3 if you purchased one single atom per position. Now the minimum of most exchanges is $10. Most of them actually $11, but for the sake of easy math, $10. This could have profited as much as $16. Total, a $6 profit. So again, look at your risk assessment. Do the analysis. Find out what works best for you. And most importantly, don't underestimate the capabilities of unusual, out-of-the-box thinking. This is the kind of stuff you want to look at. Unusual, out-of-the-box thinking, where you can choose either dollar cost averaging or a stop loss. And the stop loss is linked to the second JRling indicator. This type of thinking takes your trading to the next level and prepares you for a market that has unusual circumstances. Let's go to BTC and let's go back to the 2020 March crash. And I'll wrap this up with this part of it. And lo and behold, here we go. It got in, collected 3 positions, and it got out with a 2% profit. So, $30, 2%, that's not bad for what was a chaotic market. Now, if you had a stop loss, the stop loss harvesters would not have gotten you. It would have been a nasty little process to wait this out, since you would have gotten in at August of 2019. And it would have sat here and cooked all of this time if you used the settings. Now, I don't know that I personally would have held on to this long for a 2%, because it literally took a year for this one position. But still, if you have the market for it, that might not have been a bad trade. But again, it survived Black Thursday, when a lot of situations didn't. Both of these combinations did. That is the big selling point of the entire process. So if you pick and choose appropriately, you can do very well. And that is the whole point of the market. Making the right decisions based upon your own personal situation. And most importantly, using your own abilities to see situations that somebody else may not. These are tools. Just like you would give an apprentice carpenter a hammer, you would give the master the same hammer. Both of them are going to have different ways of using it, while they both will get the same job done. The difference is in the level of training of the individual, even though it is the same exact tool. Jackrabbit is such a way that I can't tell you what is possible, because there's no way for me to test every possible combination it can do. And that really is the biggest advantage Jackrabbit has as a whole. You can come up with combinations I may never see. For example, combining this with an inverted momentum is another way of getting a very good long-term all-weather indicator. So there are ways that you can really take a simple process like JRling and really make it into an award-winning stellar trading system. It doesn't take much to figure these out. The mathematics are done by the modules. All you have to do is make sure your selling points are higher than your buying points. Buy low, sell high. You'll make a profit. If you're poor at figuring that out, like I am, dollar cost averaging pretty much makes sure you can't go wrong. It will always come up with a profit as long as there's not a market apocalypse. And you can limit how exposed you are. If you're a grandmaster and can figure out good entry and exit points, a stop loss can give you some very powerful in and out cases that minimize the impact of your budget. So take a look at this. I will post this chart in the description below. Take a look at it, play with it, see how I did it. Apply this kind of a technique to your trading. Whether it's moving averages, support and resistance, this type of out-of-the-box thinking can take your trading to the next level. JRling just makes it extremely easy to apply it because it is one of the most robust combinations Jackrabbit supports. Until next time.